Hi, I'm Catherine, and I'll be going over LSAT Problem 1. Now, the LSAT tests your understanding of various components of an argument. Now, on test day, which of course is why we're all here, you'll be provided with an incomplete argument. So you'll have some information provided to you, and from this information, the author of the argument will make an assertion. The assertion will rely on absent information, and this is the assumption. This is what you're going to be looking for on test day. So what is the assumption exactly? Well, if I provide you information, and then I make an assertion based on that information, but I rely on something extra, well, I've assumed the missing information. So that's what the assumption really is. It's a link. It's a link between the provided evidence and the author's conclusion. So let's try a silly little example to illustrate this idea. If I tell you that oranges are the color orange, and therefore apples can't be oranges, well, I've done something additional to the information that I asserted in the beginning, right? I've assumed something. I've assumed that apples are not orange, ever. There's no such thing as an orange apple. Well, what is that? That's missing evidence. That's what it is. It's evidence that's missing from the argument. Now, if my argument had been, oranges are the color orange, no apples are the color orange, and therefore apples can't be oranges, well, that would be a complete argument. However, I skipped over that middle step. I assumed it to be true without stating it. That's the assumption. That's what you're going to be looking for on test day, that link between the evidence and the conclusion. Of course, in order to find the assumption, it's going to be important to be able to identify the evidence and the conclusion as well. These are the other two pieces of your argument. So let's look at a sample question in order to learn how to identify all three pieces of the argument. Look at your problem, problem 1. Now, you'll see that it consists of two sentences. So which piece of this sentence is your conclusion and which piece is your evidence? Well, it's often easier to identify the conclusion first because the conclusion will contain a call-out word generally, like because, or so, or therefore, something to indicate that you're drawing an inference from the information provided. Well, if you look at your second sentence, it begins with the word so. So this is probably going to be our concluding sentence, making our first sentence our evidence. So our evidence is indicating that present-day machines are not designed for experts. And our conclusion is asserting that the job market of the future will not require expert knowledge of machines. Well, what's our assumption? There's a missing piece here. It's good to anticipate the assumption before looking at your sample answers because this will help you in the long run. So it's going to probably be something along the lines of the machines of the future, for the future job market in our conclusion, are going to be designed for non-experts as the machines of today are. Well, look at your sample answers. Is there anything that lines up with this? Answer 1 talks about the past, so we can throw that out. It's not A. And answer B is really a restatement of our evidence. So we're going to throw that out too because it doesn't talk about the future. Let's skip over C, which probably gives you a little clue about C, but let's look at D. D is talking about the importance of a traditional education, which I fully support. It's very important. However, that's not what our argument is talking about, so we can get rid of D. And let's look at E. E also doesn't really talk about the future, and it says never, whereas our argument says most and generally, so it's not going to be E. That leaves us with C, which talks about the machines of the future and the type of knowledge you'll need to run them. This is the assumption we're looking for.